everybody, this is Grace, and in this video I'm going to talk about something that I had noticed when I was younger, much younger, and it was about when people start to kind of turn on one another, you know, in jobs, or where it could be not even in jobs, but they start to turn on one another whenever they can't, there's not much room to for, you know, like to get higher on a job. You know, there's not much room for advancement, and it, like I said, it doesn't have to be a job. It can be in any place where a person feels there's no room for advancement. You could be working at a charity and you want to do more, and it's just not happening because there's no room for that. So, and then some people, not everybody, this, I'm going to say this whole video, I'm not saying everybody who's done this, is more of a what I've seen in those certain situations, and not every situation would I see it. Okay, try to clean this up a little bit. When I was younger, I had noticed this, especially when I was in my 30s, and other people that I was working with were in theirs also. Well, actually, it started before then. When I was a career student, university, college and university, graduate school kind of thing. I took a lot of classes, and during before I got my bachelor's degree in double major, before then I worked at a lot of temporary jobs, so I could work around my class schedule and stuff like that. And then once I got my bachelor's degree, I worked as a substitute teacher. So anyway, I was in a lot of office environments. I was in a lot of working, you know, temporary jobs. I worked mainly in offices, and it was predominantly female jobs, meaning that there were usually jobs that mainly women worked in. Okay, like secretarial, well, they don't call them secretarial anymore, but, you know, any kind of office job. Often it was all women, but sometimes not. And, you know, really, there'd be at least one male, if not more. More on this. The ones where I saw the problems were basically when there was a tight space. Now, it doesn't have to be an office space, but like people were working really close together. And, you know, you could be in a restaurant, working in a restaurant, and you're really close together with somebody else. Anywhere that you don't have enough personal space. You know, your comfort zone is constantly being, intruded on. Like if you work, say, even if you work in an office, and the office is your own, but it's a small, cramped little office, and people can come and go anytime they please in it. They don't have to knock, they just go in there. Maybe their time clock or whatever is in there, you know, and they just walk in. You don't have much personal space, and you don't have much privacy. And now these jobs that I'm referring to, they were often, the employees were often overworked and underpaid, and understaffed. Okay, that kind of goes along with the overworked. I remember downsizing. Oh my goodness, they expected one person to do 5 jobs, and they just would change the job a little bit, yeah, and then say, well, we reconstructed this job, and no, you were still doing the job of 5 people and being paid even less, quite often. But I remember those days, yeah. So people had all this going against them, all this bad stuff, you know, underwork, you know, and people were desperate for jobs because of all the downsizing and such. You know, there weren't that many jobs out there, so people, you know, these employers knew it, so they could get away with anything. You know, they felt like almost anything, and often did. Like I said, I was more of a doing seasonal or part-time, temporary, along this line. So yeah, I got to see it, but I wasn't stuck there, you know. And some of it, and this does not excuse anybody's behavior in any of this, it does not excuse any behavior, but what I often saw was there would develop often, it's kind of like a, you know, like people say a mean girl, you know, mean girls group, but it wasn't necessarily female. It could be mixed, it could be male, but they often ganged up. You know, seriously, shouldn't be laughing, but yeah, you know, they ganged up, and like mean girls do, and mean girl groups, that kind of thing, mean boy group, and they would really harass somebody, anybody they didn't like, especially if that person might have the potential to, go up the corporate ladder a little bit. Oh man, and especially people who are educated, they hated them with a passion. They had to try to just basically torture them on jobs, so these people would quit. And I remember those were called the slackers. They didn't want to work too. And then the other, people who were trying to succeed were bar raisers. But back then, there really wasn't much room for advancement anyway, in those kinds of jobs, because I'm talking about people around my age, say people who are now anywhere from their 40s and up, around 40 and up. There were so many people who were older that already had the higher positions, that the ones who were younger, like younger baby boomers, older Gen X, they didn't have any room for advancement. So it was just dead-end job after dead-end job. Sure, you could quit that one. When would you ever find another one? It's so bad for a lot of people. So in turn, what I saw most in this, not an excuse, like I said, is that people fought against one another. Like I just said, the whole Mean Girls group would gang up on the other. One of the reasons is because they didn't want to work that hard, and they were afraid of what they call the bar raisers, because the bar raisers were actually doing their job, and they were afraid the slackers, would get fired for not doing as much work. So they would gang up on the bar raiser, and I was often the bar raiser. Luckily, like I said, I was more of a temp, so a temporary employee. So, and I was going to school, so I didn't have too much to worry about, But there were a lot of people who didn't have that luxury. They had to worry about that job. Sorry, my voice is going out with allergies. So, yeah, but a lot of people didn't have that, that luxury, like I said, and they had to worry, and they were tortured at work. Now, all these years later, okay, the last time I actually worked where it was like that, there were a lot of other, I'm not going to pick on just Gen X and baby boomers. I'm not trying to pick on anybody in particular. But some of the millennials I worked with, their attitude wasn't so much as this kind of thing of, ganging up, except theirs was more of a age gang up against the older people. Like their age group, the millennials against the rest. That's what I saw. Like I said, this is not in everywhere. This is not every job. This is not, and all of them did that. No, they didn't. No, it wasn't 100%, But yeah, it was a little bit of a twist to it. Now, to get back to those of us, who are baby boomers and Gen X, a lot of them, to me, what I see these days is they didn't get over that. They didn't get past that, And like I said, it doesn't have to be an office job. It could be any kind of job where you work real close to somebody, you don't have much privacy, and it's overworked, underpaid, understaffed, And not everybody would respond this way, and not everybody was the one doing it. But I think many of them who were never got past it, never got over it, expect it, see it, are used to it. It's become familiar. And some of them still do it. Some would say, well, they're this, and they'd whip out their DSM and say, oh, they've got this personality, that personality, and they'll never change. But not everybody who has bad behaviors has a personality disorder. So, anyway, my voice is going out, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. If you have any stories you want to share, or any comments at all, leave them below. If you want to subscribe to this channel and you haven't already, click the circle. If you want to watch another video on this channel, you can click on the rectangles. Like, subscribe, comment, and share. If you would, and I'll talk to you on another video. Bye.